Hey guys, this is RuRoniK95 here. Once again, it's time for a book review video. Once again. So today, I have wanted to do something that I haven't thought of doing one like this before until now. And yes, this is the first time that I haven't been thinking about doing one. And that is something that I wanted to do, which I haven't done before until now, type of videos as well. Accordingly, over to the fact, particularly because last time I already take a look back on my previous book reviews, such as Samurai from Outer Space, Understanding Japanese Animation book review, and the Anime Encyclopedia book review. This is a new video that I want to be doing something particularly as how I could understand why, just to considering the fact of how I can learn about this as well, for all sorts as well. Yeah, because from what I think of it, in case you're wondering particularly of why I want to do a video like this particularly, and this is something that I wanted to pick that I have recently shown you on my previous video where I did my otaku haul video a while back on Saturday. If you have not seen like the one that I did for this holiday season in the past as well, if you haven't seen the video, the link to the video will be in the description down below if you want to check out that video if you like at your leisure at this point as well, particularly. So why am I going to bring this all up? Today's book review, we're going to be reviewing this book that I have right here, and that is Manga, the world of Japanese comics. And what this is particularly, this book was written by F. Shodet, or whatever you want to pronounce the author's name, because he wrote the book on here accordingly. Oh, Frederick L. Shodet. And this includes a foreword by Osamu Tezuka on here. Because from what I've come across for this, there's like a whole bunch of these mangas, or in the whole history of that as well. Particularly of how I can do this as well. Yeah. Still that this isn't the first time that I wanted to do another book review like this one as well. And yeah, this was published back in the 90s I'm guessing though. If I'm not mistaken though. As well. Yeah, this is particularly of how I always want to learn to come across, particularly of how this also includes the foreword by Osamu Tezuka on here, which I'm thinking that it's in between chapters on here. It's also of how this book has how helped me to introduce of how these always help to have make me want to become the person who wants to start getting into manga as well, particularly as well. And yeah, these are the ones on here where you can see images on there from the manga, like these pages on here, like Doraemon, Sanpei, Graveyard Kitaro, and Dr. Slump on these pages on here. Which you could, how do they use images like these? So I'm guessing those are basically from the original Japanese editions of manga on here. And these also included estimated sales for how manga has been serialized on here from other ones, like such as Boys Weeklies on here, like Shonen Jump, Shonen Magazine, Shonen Sunday, Shonen Champion, Shonen King, as well as the Girls Monthlies on here, such as Nakayoshi, Ribbon, Bisatu Margaret, Bisatu Shoujo Friend as well. Especially for what you find in the Asahi newspaper on May 7th, 1980. Approximately of how everything of how what the manga industries, how it has had a lot to do for the sales of how manga artists made a lot of money when they make particularly a lot of volumes for every manga in a particular series as well. Especially from mangaka artists such as Leiji Matsumoto, Osamu Tezuka, Kira Toriyama, as well as other manga artists on here, as from what I know. Then you also got Ryoko Ikeda, who is the creator of the Rose of Versailles, also known in its original Japanese under the name Versailles no Barawa. Yep. Particularly as how, just to consider. And also, let's not forget other manga artists. Kenji Nakazawa, the creator of Barefoot Gen, another manga of how it's been taking place on how it's setting around World War II during of how it's setting in Hiroshima back in the days as well, because it has a long history of how they do these as well. And there's also basically, let's not forget Go Nagai, like especially like what you could recognize. There's an image of the manga, image of Mazinger Z on here, which I didn't know the manga existed as well. Which, as far as I know, as well. And there's also an image of the manga from the Todoroki Ichiban, or Thunder Ichiban, which you could translate that in the page as well. This one here, I think this is from Phoenix, from manga artist Osamu Tezuka, what you can see on here as well. This is how I wanted to come across, particularly of how what manga is originally made for, or what manga artists made as well. Especially, they wanted to make a lot of money whenever they publish every volumes of a certain manga series they have been working on as well. Most significantly in general of its kind as well, particularly as far as I know as well. And there's also images from other manga, such as, I think I found this one as well. There's a lot on there, especially in sports manga, what you noticed in that one as well, particularly of how they made this. And also, there is also the manga of Princess Knight from Osamu Tezuka, because he is the creator of Astro Boy and Phoenix, as well as many of his famous works of how he worked as a manga artist on there. And that image right there, I think that's from Football Hawk, which is done by manga artist Noboru Kawasaki, serialized in Shonen Magazine from 1978 and 1979 in the late 70s, early 80s. And that image right there, Orewa Teppei, or I Am Teppei, from manga artist Tetsuya Chiba, serialized from 1973 to 1980 in Shonen Magazine, which is from the 70s to the 80s. And there is also another manga I found, what I discovered, the boxing manga, which is this image on here. I think that's Ashita no Joe, or in Italy is known as Rocky Joe in that one. Yeah, because there is this image right here. I think that's basically its original Japanese on there. However, there are the Italian editions of manga translated in Italian, because this is before they imported over to the US in the 90s as well. And the image right there I found, this one I noticed, another manga, which is basically Tiger Mask. I didn't know there was a Tiger Mask manga, the wrestling manga right there. You know, especially if you don't know about Tiger Mask is basically like your typical wrestler who wears like a a mask of a tiger, who is basically the championship in wrestling as well. And that's basically how the biggest inspiration was for the character King in the Tekken video game franchise as well. And the image on there, what I noticed, there's Takao Saito's infamous manga, Golgo 13, which is serialized on Big Comic, as how it started as a manga in 1969, because I never knew that this manga also existed, particularly in this one as well. From as far as I know as well, and there's another manga which I found that's particularly on this page on there, such as Male Gang by manga artist Tetsu Kariya, serialized from 1974 to 1979 in Weekly Shonen Sunday, as well as you can see in that, which I didn't know this manga also existed, particularly. Well, there's many obvious of older mangas as well. As far as I know, of how the spirit, also in the Spirit of Japan one, this is basically from Kozure Okami, Wolf and Child by Kazuo Oiki and Goseki Kojima. Because I wasn't sure, this image right there, I was thinking, if I was not mistaken, if it was Lone Wolf and Cub in this particular one. Yeah, there's a bunch of samurai stories and manga out there, and yet this explains to the reason as well. As far as I know as well. Just to let you know on this one, there's also the excerpt on early children's magazines, especially for manga of its kind as well. As far I could research on this page is on there. And there's also particularly how, despite of how Japanese manga is more different than American comics in general. As far I could think, for that to be very quick as well. As well. And also, there it is. That's the one I wanted to tell you about that I found. In between pages 88 to 89, there is also other mangas from Yoko Shoji, such as Saito Shokin, or Students, translated in English, if I can tell on there, because I can see the image on here. And oh shoot, there's the infamous classic manga from Yumiko Igarashi and Kyoko Mizuki's classic manga, Candy Candy, which only was serialized in Nakayoshi, which is serialized in that Girls Monthly manga magazine in the 70s among the girls as well. Yeah, there's the image of Candy Candy in that one. Yeah, because there's many obvious of older considering the fact of how older manga as how it's been used as well. And there's basically the final scene in Hideko Mizuno's manga Fire, serialized in from between 1969 and 1970, which I think that's the example of the late 60s, early 70s manga. Because Hideko Mizuno's manga Fire was pioneering for the girls comic, but it's only aimed for the older audience on here as well, of how this manga is about a talented singer named Fire Wolf, who was born a rebel and a talented rock musician. He dies in a motorcycle crash when Aaron became a rock musician, of how his frenzied odyssey through the late 60s America as well. excuse me, must be. When he was tormented by the visions of Wolf, so Aaron explores mythism, drugs, and love of how with his rock group, when he wanted to become a national rock star, or whatever you want to call it, when after at a rock festival he turned violent. When he drops out of the tour to around the country, how his idealistic man of younger people, how it's persecuted by the establishment, of how Aaron's hand is damaged and attacked by the Hells Angels. He burned his guitar and confessed of how he's wanting to become like his idol, Firewolf, when he failed at everything. In the final scene, he ended up in a mental hospital in his own world of dreams, particularly. And there's also the image on here from another manga from Ryoko Ikeda's The Rose of Versailles, also included. Yeah, because there is a bunch of other classic old manga out there as well. Well, there are many obvious ones as well, particularly of how I wanted to come across as well, which I didn't know about this until now. Yeah. Particularly wondering there, and also, if you want to read something, an excerpt about Monkey Punch's manga Lupin the Third, I think it's available in Regulation versus Fantasy in between pages 120 to 122, one on there. Yeah, to the plot of how, because we all know what's something good for how the manga is. Makes me want to become like a manga reader, and also there's also dealing with violence, especially in like most significantly in the horror manga, especially from Go Nagai, like most significantly Devil Man manga, as well as another one which is Violence Jack, because both of those are created by Go Nagai, who is the creator of Mazinger Z and Cutie Honey as well. Well, Mazinger Z is like your typical giant robot one, mecha robot one. Cutie Honey is like your typical magical girl whole type of story manga on there. But Devilman is basically more of like a supernatural horror manga as well. Then again, just considered, Violence Jack is more different than Devilman in general, particularly as well. And there is also another manga I mentioned about information about Sanpei Shirato's classic Ninja Bugeicchio as well. Just considered particularly, one thing it's how what I've discovered manga titles, and it's preparatory of how I wanted to come across particularly on there as well. Well, there are many obvious ones on there of how many of the comic industries wanted to have the attempts of how they want to import mangas over to the US, particularly, especially for how the comic industry wanted to do for this particularly. If you mention something about United Artists, how they met for about manga artists, I think you better read on the comic industry between page 138 to 139, also in this particular book, like this as well. From what I understand why. Well, there are many obvious mangas on here. There is also another manga from Katsuhiro Otomo, who is the creator of the original Akira manga. It's called Sayonara Nippon, translated it Farewell Japan. I mean, which I found it on there because this is one of the earlier Katsuhiro Otomo manga before he later worked on the Akira manga Farewell Japan is another manga from Katsuhiro Otomo, who is the creator of Akira, which I didn't know that it was the earlier manga from, like, I believe it was like 70s or something, which is something, as far as I know, I can realize on here. There is another manga particularly called I Saw It, which is in the United States, particularly a Barefoot Gen, how it looks. And even there was a Gold Key Astro Boy comic based on Osamu Tezuka's creation, but it's redrawn from the Japanese original by American artists. Well, there are many, obviously, American artists wanting to make this based on Osamu Tezuka's creation, most significantly Astro Boy in that one as well. And there's also American comics on here from the works such as Macross, as well as Robotech, Shogun Warriors, and the Transformers are the only two that are serialized in Marvel Comics as well. And also, same goes with the popularity for other mangas, how they made a success in Italy, such as Candy Candy on the Italian edition, as well as the Italian edition, deluxe edition of Go Nagai's Mazinger Z, redrawn and colored by Spanish artists for deluxe Italian edition of the original manga on there, which I noticed, which has basically had a good success in Europe, especially in Italy. Aside from Spain and Ireland and the United Kingdom, France and Germany, Italy has its own particular ways of how they had manga on these deluxe editions, some of them in the full color, in parts of the pages that are recolored by Spanish artists on here, due to the fact of how, and they're basically translated in Italian of the original Japanese manga material of how they wanted to come across. Just to consider how the Shogun Warriors was serialized in Marvel Comics group in the 70s in the United States of America as well. Something, as far as I know, as well. Especially for what American comic books are based on Japanese animation or anime, as well as the toys on here. Take, for example, such as Robotech Defenders, under as the title as Macross, as well as the Shogun Warriors and the Transformers on here. And also, there was also the Captain Harlock manga from Leiji Matsumoto, but it was under the title in France and Canada as Albator, which I didn't know. Captain Harlock goes by the name Albator, Captain Albator, in France and in Canada, which is basically translated in French of the original Japanese manga as well. And there's selections from other Japanese manga, such as Osamu Tezuka's manga Phoenix, and there is another manga from Leiji Matsumoto, Ghost Warrior, Ryoko Aikida's The Rose of Versailles, and Eiji Nakazawa's Barefoot Gen included. This book has a selection of Japanese manga, which I never knew about this as well. Yep, that's what I'm telling you about right here. This is basically, from what I discovered, this might be Osamu Tezuka's manga Phoenix on here. And it's translated in English in the selections part. And this also have manga artist bio on here, because Osamu Tezuka was a fanatical fan of early Walt Disney animation when he had the idea of the creation of Astro Boy manga as well. Yeah, particularly from what I understand why. As far as I know as well, and here is another manga from Leiji Matsumoto that I have never heard of before until now, which is something that Seven Seas Entertainment might get a hold of this for the classic collection to be translated in English as well. Excuse me. And that is basically Ghost Warrior, another manga from the creator of Space Battleship Yamato and Galaxy Express 39 and Captain Harlock as well. Because I didn't know that this was the first time I have read some of his works as well. And here is the Rose of Versailles on there as well. However, there is the manga, The Rose of Versailles, was available in English by Udon Entertainment in those hardcovers as well, as far as I know as well. And the last one here, you got Barefoot Gen on there, which is by Keiji Nakazawa. And yes, this manga explains of how it's been setting around in the period during the final day on World War II, of how it's particularly how it's depicted on World War II on there, especially in Hiroshima, Nagasaki, especially. If you ever find books on the history on, if you ever read books on histories about World War II that has the Hiroshima and Nagasaki on there, this manga, Barefoot Gen, takes place in the setting in the final days of World War II, especially in Hiroshima, Nagasaki. I mean, this was very emotional of how this got depicted on there, but overall, this is something I really want to pick up a manga copy of, Barefoot Gen particularly. For overall, I had to get this book though. If you don't, when I first bought this, was only like 25 cents at a library because this was donated to the library. But what's a bummer is that this, I don't have the slip cut, the dust jacket sleeve for this book because somebody might have ditched it. Like, why do they do that? However, you could find this on Amazon or eBay if you want to recommend buying this on Amazon as well. I mean, this book has helped to have learned of how I wanted to get into manga as well, because why not? This proves that I have been reading a lot of manga, a lot more than I had with reading light novels, even though I haven't been collecting light novels in a while since the last one, which is The Surprise of Haruhi Suzumiya. Despite I have a small collection of light novels right there, because I don't really collect that much light novels as much as I thought I should be. But that's just besides the point as well. So that's going to be it for my book review on Manga, the world of Japanese comics for today's manga book, well, today's book review for today, guys. Thank you for watching, but before we go, here's what I'm going to say for this one. Even though I've already done my previous book review videos, this one should take the cake as well, because I wanted to do a book review on this that I haven't thought of doing one before until now as well, as far as I know as well. Hope subscribe for content. Anime Planet Patreon links will be in the description down below. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below about this book as well. Just let me know your thoughts on this one as well. And also, smack the like button if you enjoy the video, if you're watching the video as well, especially if you're watching the channel. Be sure to smack the notifications bell button. Be sure to get notified also as well for more latest updates as well. Once you click the subscribe button, be sure to subscribe to my channel, RoniK95. Feel free to join my channel, especially if you're new to my channel as a newcomer as well. Especially if you're watching the channel particularly. I'm starting getting into the anime DVD and Blu-ray haul videos, as well as particularly manga haul videos, as well as Gunpla haul, anime figure haul videos, as well as anime figure unboxing and review videos, specifically the ones from like Banpresto, SH Fig Arts, as well as every other ones as well. And also I'm start getting into like the manga reviews, manga reading logs as well, and also the biggest one of all. Started getting into the Blu-rays and DVDs on here, especially because same goes with the introduction to how I'm started getting into the DVD and Blu-rays and 4K Ultra HD ones as well, in case you're wondering as well. And also the discussion about VCDs as well. Everything, like, because VCDs is more popular in Asia. That's why I'm starting getting into the more discussion video ideas. That's why. So, and that's all what I got for this video. Wow, this is the first time I got to do a book review like this one, on this particular video like this, that I haven't thought of doing like this for the very first time. Even though this is the one that I shown you on my previous video, where I did my otaku haul video for this holiday season a while back on Saturday. If you haven't seen the video, I'm going to put the link to the original video in the description down below if you want to go check out that video at your leisure at this point as well, if you like as well. That didn't take very well. This is Roni K95 saying thank you for watching my video, and I'm glad you liked it. Hope you enjoy it. Hope to see you soon for the next video. Hope you have a great day. This is Roni K95 signing off, and thank you for watching my video, and I will see you soon for more videos. Take care. Bye.